There. What?
There was nobody there.
Alright,
Bloody Mary?
I don't want to step on coats.
Like, we need to bring ghosts back. Like, we need to more of a ghost. We need to see more ghosts. I stopped seeing. I feel like I have not seen enough ghosts in my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
That looks pretty good. Great, everyone's in frame. Awesome.
Nobody's ever, like, seeing their abuela anymore?
No. Like, I just want to see, like, a small girl standing in the corner.
We'll edit that out.
Who is it that somebody has this joke about ghosts and how like ghosts will like fuck with the lights, you know, like the lights will flicker and stuff like that. It's like, well, it's because like a lot of ghosts are from like a long time ago, sort of like
They don't know what the fuck it is.
1500s. So they're like, wait, what is this? Like, whoa, the light goes on and off. Whoa, holy shit, we didn't have this in our like.
They're not fucking with you, they're just excited.
Yeah, they're just like stoked. Like, there's a fridge, and they like keep opening the fridge. Like, what is this? I don't know who tells that joke, but it's in my head.
It's funny. Is that why our phones get thrown out of our hands now?
Probably.
Yeah, probably. They're like, no. Is that a thing?
Sometimes I drop you drop your phone on your face.
Oh, like you're in bed.
Yeah.
And then like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a proven fact, which is why my screen is cracked, is that gravity loves my phone more than other objects.
Oh yeah.
It pulls on it.
Andrew, how do I pronounce your last name?
Bradis.
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 Thank you. Thank
With
you.
an A.
It was in the packet that I
Was
prepped.
it?
Oh, really? I didn't receive that packet.
Andrew goes everywhere with the press packet. I don't know.
I have a
Alright.
press packet.
Yeah.
It just says Bradis.
It's literally the one thing you need
It's
to
just
know.
how to pronounce the
I
name.
almost respelled it when I was like in high school. I used to come up with like, should I change the spelling of it so it's easy? Because I was like, I'm gonna be in entertainment and I want to say my name right.
Yeah.
I never did.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Actually, I had a moment earlier when I was trying to look you up to text you that my phone tried to autocorrect it to EI.
Oh. I don't want to keep going back to the thing. I didn't mean trying to practice.
I think we have to start.
And also, if you Google my name that way, I still pop up.
That's good.
Oh.
So that works.
Enough people
That's
spell it
that's
wrong.
good.
Yeah.
SEO. Yeah.
Enough people are stupid that it works to your benefit.
Yeah.
All right.
You ready to get this going?
Yeah. Has everyone got everything? Water? Need anything? Anybody? Andrew,
We
Ryan?
have
I'm
a
great.
housewoman to go fetch
Yes.
this thing. So
Wow.
okay.
Wow, you just said that on camera.
Yeah. So I married her.
This is why. He owns her.
Only in Texas. All right, here we go.
How's it going? This is Social Absence, the only podcast that's saving its bandwidth for the weekend. I'm Blaze Mencius. For all you longtime listeners, welcome back. Episode 20. Here we are in my tiny apartment on my big black couch. If you're new to the show, this is kind of how it works. I abstain from all social media. Monday through Friday, I'm not on Facebook, I don't tweet, I don't gram, I don't Bumble, I don't Tumble, I don't Vine, I don't Snap, I don't do any of that shit. Whatever news shit the kids are doing nowadays, I'm off of it Monday through Friday. And then on Saturday, I have some people come on my podcast and they try and see what I missed, what I didn't miss, what I gathered from not being on social media for the week. So, let me introduce some of our guests on the show. One of them, very talented actor, very dear friend of mine. He's been on the show now a few times. Mr. Ryan Nichols. How's it going, man?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm
Thanks for
very
having me
good.
back.
Yeah. Well, you've been at my apartment like 3 times this week already, right?
That's true. And I've been drunk 0 times, so...
Yeah, then
what's happening?
I know. Were you over here for a funeral or something? I don't understand. Like, it's very somber. Anyway, I'm not really sure where I was going with that. Bad joke. Anyway, and so, welcome back, Ryan. Thank you. Also, she's not going to be on the mic, but I think it's worth acknowledging for our Facebook Live people that are watching, because there is a woman in the background sitting on the couch that we're kind of just ignoring. That's not intentional, but it is Ryan's very dear wife, Lori Hines.
Hi.
Yeah, you can hear her in the background. She was on a couple episodes ago with
Allie.
with who?
Allie.
Oh, with Allie. Oh, Allie Colbert. That's right. So yeah, Lori's just kind of hanging out for the Facebook Live people. They're like, I think there's like a demon hanging out in the background. Over there.
I usually get mistaken for a teacher.
Oh, very often so. Yeah. But also joining us on the show, very funny guy. I guess you could say he's internet famous, as his ball cap says. You might know him as the annoying actor friend. Very funny guy, Mr. Andrew Bradis.
Thank you so much for having me.
I got a little nervous just before I said your last name. I don't know if you felt like that pause. I was like, wait, how do I pronounce it?
I thought it was like a gravity. You're giving me weight for my last name. So I liked it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that's the acting going in there. I'm just trying to like fudge my way through things. But how's it going, Andrew?
I'm good. I say like I like to call myself Broadway internet D-list famous.
So okay, I like that.
If you are on the internet and you specifically follow Broadway stuff, you may have seen somebody like one of my tweets.
Yes. I think So I kind of knew about this because there was like a big reveal. So basically, I should let everybody know. So you run this Twitter you created this Twitter called Annoying Actor Friend, where and correct me if I explain this incorrectly, but it's kind of like tweets about actors in the industry, annoying things that they might say on social media, like humble bragging about certain projects that they've booked, complaining about other people. Would you say that's sort of it?
Yeah, that's definitely what it was and how it started, because it started in 2012 when we were kind of getting into where we started having like social media tropes that we all had.
Yeah.
Like before then, I think we were still very much using the internet as a whole to be like, this is my sandwich and I'm here. Like we didn't have things we did. And I started seeing actors specifically have a certain way they behaved online, and then I was like, I need to make fun of this because it's annoying as shit. And then so it started there, and then
and you were an actor too.
Yeah, I used to be an actor, and then my wife's an actor, and and a lot of my friends are actors, so most of my internet is actors. So I was able to. I didn't realize at the time, but what I was doing was basically I was not researching, but analyzing what they were doing. Over time, I had learned a lot, like an anthropologist or whatever.
Sure.
Is that the right word?
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm an actor too, and I'll be honest with you, like some of the inspiration of doing this podcast is like some of the annoying things that I would see in my friend group, and I was like, I'm sick of seeing this. But at the same time, something that I would do like at parties, this is so weird, as like an icebreaker with friends, if I met somebody that was like outside of my industry, like let's say I met a doctor, I'd be like, hey, pull up your Instagram feed, I'll pull up mine, let's trade phones. And I would awesome. Because they would live in a world that's like totally different than mine, social media wise. But it'd be cool to see like what their interests are, what they're following. And that's kind of like where like the Follow Island segment came from, was this idea of like, well, let's see a world that I'm not connected to through somebody else. You know what I mean?
That's cool. Yeah, because I used to, when I was making fun of it in the beginning, I'd be like, do lawyers and doctors and business people talk like this? Or are they like, like just got a murderer off death row, wish I could share, more information, or like, like no big deal, just, perform a triple bypass. Like, are people talking like that? Am I interested? I should have actually found out.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea. I have no idea. But yes, and you've created you are monetizing off of this. Like, this is like a big deal for you. This an actor friend, right? Like, it's kind of like a nice part-time gig. I guess I don't know how to explain it.
I would say that it's not like
it's brought you some success.
Yeah, it's brought me like it's given me like a good portfolio piece to say like, now I have something on a resume that says, okay, because I'm a writer, and I'd be like, this is essentially the biggest thing on my resume right now as far as a writer. So I'd be like, this is what I did. Using social media, using the internet, and this is my portfolio in a sense. And then I can get down to like because it was in the beginning it was making fun of actors' behavior, but then it turned into many other things, and now I don't really even do that anymore because, well, for the most part, actors have I won't say shaped up, but they've sort of refined how they're acting on. So now there's only every now and then I'll see sort of a trend of how, like, a new trend that actors like is to, when they post a casting notice that they're in, they like to say "cat's out of the bag." And I'm like, okay, no, "cat's out of the bag" works if like you sign an NDA and you're in Star Wars: The Force Awakens and the movie has come out and everybody is like, oh my god, you're in Star Wars? Like, yeah, "cat's out of the bag." But it's not like your playbill listing for like, the regional show you're doing. That's not a "cat's out of the bag" situation.
Sure.
But when I get my first big writing job, I'm gonna be like, "cat's out of the bag."
I forgot what I was gonna say, but anyway, so you've gotten this success through social media, and Ryan has told me a lot about you, and from what he's made it seem like, he's painted you as a bit of a social media expert. Now that may or may not be inaccurate or accurate, but it seems to me like you know a lot than most.
I think when you say like we talk about all the different types of internets that there are, I think that the one that I'm in, I think that I've done a pretty good job of like analyzing it. But then,
and when you say the one that you're in, you specifically mean Twitter.
Yeah, specifically Twitter.
What could you tell us about Twitter that maybe we don't know? Like I know there's like certain things like, oh, this is a good time of day to post, or like this. Like I'm not familiar with these sort of things, so I'm curious like what you could tell us and the audience about Twitter and maybe managing an account that maybe we don't know or have thought of.
I think my from my experience is that I know they have like the you should post at this time or you should do that. I do believe that there is specifically kind of a lull between 12 and 5 p.m. I would say.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't I don't get a lot of traction off of things at that time, but at the same time, I feel like there's not really a rhyme or reason between like if you feel like I need to post this thing right now, like that could end up picking up. It depends on what people are on. I think that it's almost like the whole like breaking out of jail, you can't do it the same way twice thing. Like I could not create Annoying Actor Friend today in the same way. So I think so much of it is about timing and so much about timing is luck. So
yeah,
I would almost say think less about what you're doing. Because you just like I'll see, especially specifically now, I'll see tweets that have 10,000 likes and I will look at the person's profile and they have like 400 followers. I'm like, okay, so like how did that happen?
Yeah.
And you can't really explain it. It just gets things catch fire at a certain time, and then they go places. I think also people are less. Another thing is like it's harder to build followers now. I would say so.
Why do you say that?
I think people are more precious with what they're doing or how they're like. They're more like I'll follow you if I really like you.
Or like I'll like it, but I won't retweet it.
Yeah. So like that's why I say I'll see people with 10,000 likes on something and they have like 1,000 followers and because people will see something, they'll like it, they'll engage in that specific moment, and then they won't engage with the person.
Gotcha.
So I think I'd say like my biggest piece of advice is like know who your followers are and just like really try to appeal to them and try to tailor it to them, and like a niche small following can be a powerful one. Like if you put my Annoying Actor Friend account next to the grand scope of Twitter, the following amount is not big, but the engagement rate is.
Well, yeah, because Annoying Actor Friend has like a very clear voice and a very clear audience of who it's serving, and so I feel like the people that are following you are very much into what you're doing, as opposed to like casually. Like I would imagine people that follow Annoying Actor Friend are people that are in or very close to the industry in some way, and so it's like what you're tweeting is stuff that's very important or interesting to them, right? Would you say?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Ryan, how you doing there? You've been a little quiet.
No, I'm as I've been gushing to you all week, it's like I think that Andrew has a lot of interesting things to say, so I'm just let him do the talking. No, but I think it's interesting.
Ryan.
Yeah, you're welcome. A lot of our engagement with each other is basically flattering each other online. I think this may be actually the only like third or fourth time we've hung out in person.
So we just love each other's posts.
Yeah, but I mean, but I think that's what it's interesting because even I think last year, the year before. I was still hearing about a lot of actors and actresses who were losing parts because, there are a lot of producers who rely on, like, what is your Instagram? How many followers do you have? How can you help us? And I think that it's becoming less about how many followers you're having and more about what your engagement is. And it's like, I know that, in the few projects that I've worked on lately, where I feel like there's sort of a lean to where, like, you need to publicize this on our behalf. It's like, I'm very choosy about what I choose to do because I think a lot of people know when they're being used. Yeah. And it's sort of like it's almost like a respect for the few followers that I do have is sort of like I'm not going to waste their time making them stare at some just for example like cat food or whatever just because somebody needs me to get their message out because it's disingenuous to the people who I actually want to relate to in this platform. So.
Yeah, I feel I get kind of weird and precious in a way. I don't like endorsing products that I'm like not. I don't know. I just don't. I feel dirty like retweet this and get like a free sandwich. And I was like, what? I'll pay for the sandwich. I don't necessarily want to give someone free advertisement unless it's something that I like really believe in or use or like really want to advocate. But I don't know. I feel dirty like giving like a big corporation like free advertisement. Do you guys feel the same way?
It's that's a hard thing, and because we're dealing like it's your account online is like your brand, so then you're now taking their brands, putting it to your brands, and I mean the closest I've gotten to that is if I get press tickets to a show, like to a Broadway show, and then I now feel like I want to press the show.
Oh, absolutely.
But I don't want to I don't want to be like on Annoying Actor Friend, which is supposed to be in its core funny, so I can't be like everything I see is amazing and I love it, go see it. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll go to a show, and now I have to find a way to make a joke that isn't making fun of at the expense of the show, but gives the show a publicity. So it's like a fun game to play that way. But as far as flat out endorsements, that's like because it's reflecting on you. The other thing about engagement rate we're talking about is that I'm glad that people are starting to notice that, because I know that I heard it in LA, you'll have to like go and when you sign in, like, what's your follower count? I'm like, wow. Have they not caught on to the fact that people buy followers? It's been going on for 10 years. You buy followers, they don't do anything and they don't engage. But I feel like, do the people up there not understand that like a 3 to 5% engagement rate on 1,000 followers is better than no engagement rate on fake 50,000? Like,
and when you say engagement rate, just to like, because I'm not even totally sure, but you mean like the amount of people that are liking, retweeting, that they're like actively doing stuff?
Yeah, that are paying attention. Like, so for example, on Twitter, and now thank God Twitter has now allowed us to have analytics and you can look at them. So you can click on a tweet and you can say, okay, well, say it has like 2,000 impressions. That means 2,000 accounts could have seen this by scrolling. Engagement means they either opened it to look at it or read it, they either liked it, they either retweeted it, or they replied to it, or they quoted it or did something. So a 3 to 5% is considered very good.
Really?
Because,
okay. Wow. Okay.
Because that, and like for example, pictures, I do better having better engagement rate on pictures because more people are going to stop and open that. Yeah. So that it's a like engagement rate is strong. That's what kind of that means. And there's no way to actually prove that when you walk into an audition outside of opening up your phone and being like, here we go, let's like analyze this.
Yeah.
But it sounds like they're getting to that point where they're paying attention to that.
It seems like only a matter of time, because I feel like most auditions nowadays, at least maybe not for stage, but for like film and TV, you're not even bringing in a physical headshot. They have all that stuff digitally. So I feel like it's a matter of time before you tell your agent, like, okay, here's my handles, here's my engagement rate. Like, your agent's gonna have that information soon. I feel like it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, like, my hope is that, that it's going to be something that is going to become a non-issue. Like, I remember, it might have been about 18 months ago, but I remember I was sitting and I was talking with a few casting directors, and there was one that was saying, when we have like lower level, like people who are doing like super low budget or low budget SAG projects, stuff for new media, where they're like, they want, just put on your resume, it's like, your name, your contact, union affiliation, handles, and followers. And I was no. Because it's one of those things where it's like, to me, I physically run from things that are so transparent, where it's just like, there's a part of me that's just like, I run from a thing where it's like, if I'm, because like an audition is a job interview for both people. Right. Yeah. And it's like, and so if the producers and the directors are coming to me and they want to know what my following is, it says to me, you are not confident enough in your own project or your own art or your own product that you need to use me to help market it. And it's just like, if it's one of those things where, at least wine me and dine me a little bit, tell me that I'm pretty, and, bring me onto the project, and then, say, hey, do you mind, like, putting out a couple of, like, set photos or something like that? Like, yeah, absolutely, not a problem. But again, like, at the top of the thing, how many Instagram followers do you have, and like, what's your demographic? Are they located in LA? Like, are they, like, what's going on? I'm gonna go, and it was very nice meeting you.
Well, it also like highlights the fact that like their ability to judge you is in question, because they don't trust their own judgment, because they're like, ooh, I don't know if we like him. He's got like 1,000 or 100,000 Twitter followers. Like, oh, okay, maybe I'm not saying something. You know what I mean? So it even puts them in question as assessors of who you are. But
and also I highly doubt that most of these people, when they hear the number, are actually opening up whatever the Instagram feed or the Twitter feed, and because you can now, it's very transparent now on Twitter. You can look at somebody, if somebody follows me and has 100,000 followers, and I go and they have 4 likes on a tweet, you see it on the tweet, you see the 4, and I'm like, oh, those are fake. So you can go to an Instagram, and if they said like 10,000 likes on a photo, you're actually going to be getting some sort of something, but I don't know if they're going that extra step yet. Thinking about that.
I have no idea.
And it's one of those things where it's like, I mean, I've been a member of Twitter since 2008, and I think I've maybe sent less than 500 tweets in like almost 10 years. It's just one of those things that it's never really been my platform of choice. When I first came on, it was one of those things where it was like, oh, this is an interesting new thing. It's sort of like Facebook, MySpace. And we'll sign up for an account. We have an account. I've got my thing and then it became like a thing that the news agencies and all of these people were engaging with, and like, what do you have to say about this news story? But I think that it's like, in the last 9 years that I've been a member of this platform, I still don't understand how it fucking works. Like in terms of like what is the point of it?
Yeah. I don't know. But I do. Moving on, I want to ask you a quick question, Andrew. What is it that you think is good or positive about social media in general? I know that's a pretty big question. And then what is something or things that you don't like about it?
I'd say positive, just from my experience, is that especially if you're a creative, that there are now just so many countless different platforms that you can find the thing that you want to do creatively, and you can do it whether you're getting a mass following or not. You're exercising that skill. Like, for example, I always say that I was waiting for technology to catch up to my laziness, because as an actor I was not proactive at all. Mm-hmm. And I was in pursuing it in like the 2006, 7, 8, 9, before all this really hit. I think that had I been 3 years younger, I might still be pursuing acting, because it's that thing where sometimes you just need the validation. And so like when I was acting, it was like I wasn't getting callbacks, so I had no clue if I was even on the right path. I wasn't getting feedback. I don't know if I was close at all. But you go online, you post something, even if you just have a friend like it. That's how it happened for me. I was like, I always wanted to write, but I didn't think that I could write, and then I would write some things on social media. People were like, oh, you should write. I'm like, oh, okay. So I think the positive thing is that you can get, I'm gonna have to pause on this one.
Yeah.
Is that I'm doubling that. If you're somebody who is a creative or is pursuing the entertainment business, that you now have you have so many different platforms to do that and to just exercise your work. Whereas like I learned how to write because of the internet. I started that blog, and it turned into like writing books and things like that. But it was all because I had something that I could immediately put out there for judgment, for validation, for all those things. And I learned, if you look at my Annoying Actor Friend blog back when I was recapping Smash 4 years ago, you can see me learn how to construct a sentence in real time. Like, you can see me learn how to do it. And I think that that's all really great. I think the negative aspects are just sort of like with anything, it's like, then you start being like, well, how come this didn't do well? Or how come that didn't do well? And then, it's just, you get, right now in the climate we're in, you get very consumed by other people's, you can get consumed by other people's negativity, and that can affect you. Mm-hmm. So I think that those are just a natural, more like macro sense, good and bad.
Yeah. One of the things about social media that worries me, especially in these past few months, more recently, is this like idea of like protest and expressing your opinions. And I always fear and wonder that there's people out protesting, let's say our current president, and they go and they march and they do women's march and things like that. But there's also a lot of people that are posting about like their displeasure with like our current president. And I just wonder if social media is giving somebody that opportunity of a release where they feel like they're doing something, and I feel like maybe they're not. I wrote this epic thing about why our president is terrible, and I haven't left my house yet. And I wonder if that's just like a nice, like, if that's actually going to cause any sort of change, because they're not out demonstrating publicly, but it gives them the emotional release that they need, and so therefore they don't go out and protest. I wonder if that's an issue, Ryan, do you have any thoughts?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, for those people who follow me, I'm particularly loud about my, sort of political stance online. And it's like I've gone out and marched.
Yeah.
It's like I do what work I can as my schedule allows. But I mean, I definitely see your point, in terms of like and I sometimes question myself where it's like, it's like I'm saying something about this, but I have literally called like 0 congressmen. Months, to talk about anything, and it's like, I fall back and I'm like, okay, well, there are like 100,000 other people that have called Chuck Schumer today, so I could probably, go have a coffee.
It's the same thing as like our president sucks to like check out the way the Starbucks person spelled my name, and it's like, who is this for? Like, I mean, I guess it makes you feel better that you got that out. I mean, I have to say that's one of my biggest pet peeves, is the spelling the name on the Starbucks cup wrong. Because if anything, I want to be like, this person makes $9 an hour, and they could have given you a number. But instead they like tried to acknowledge your humanity by spelling your name, and they've never met you before. Like, fuck you. Like, if they can't spell your name right, they tried It's a coffee. Like, go fucking kill yourself.
Also, it's
my
like,
tone is terrible right now.
Well, and also, when that came out, it was like they were trying to say that Starbucks maybe was trying to have their people spell it wrong because it gave them publicity. But I was like, I don't know if that was true or not, but it really is like the definition of utter privilege.
Yeah.
Is that going to your artisanal coffee shop and getting mad that your name's spelled wrong.
Yeah, on a cup that you're going to throw away in about 20 minutes or less, that you care. They're acknowledging you. They could have been like 29.
I don't even have my name on this.
They don't even have, oh my god. Jeez, but they're acknowledging your humanity, and they don't need to. They don't get paid enough to acknowledge your humanity. Anyway.
I mean, but it's one of those things where it's like, with people posting stuff, and it's like you go back to the point of like, hashtag actor life, hashtag set life, hashtag working actor sort of things. I mean, just things that we're
What's so funny? I don't know what's so funny yet.
No, I mean, I think that I'm curious because I've just spent the last several weeks talking to students in the boroughs I teach for classic stage, as you know, in the first couple of months of the year. And it's like one of the things that I find interesting is like these kids, like we all remember being in high school and just sort of like the traumas of junior high and high school and like all the pressures that brought with it. And I'm old enough where I'm we were still doing AIM,
AOL Instant Messenger for those who don't know.
We had dial-up, you'd go run home and like you'd flirt with like the girl from science class or something like that. I just go to science class.
No, I did.
No, but the thing is, like these kids are like are harassing each other on Instagram and Snapchat, and like they're kids who just never get left alone. But I mean, there's issues like that, but I'm also concerned with like when you're talking about like you have this idea like, is Starbucks having people intentionally spell people's names to get publicity? It's like, and so I always have these things where I think in me, I know it's given me this like. And I'm already a bit of a skeptic anyway, I think as my nature, but it always gives me, I always look at things like how genuine is this? Like, is this a real thing? Is there like some sort of ulterior motive? I think that I question sometimes, like, has it made us more critical as a society, in terms of like, and how we put ourselves out there, because there's this sort of like, I need to constantly be on sort of thing.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a phenomena of like crushing somebody for something that they posted or tweeted, and then like offering no sort of forgiveness, or also like never looking at the body of work of somebody. Like if somebody, let's just say somebody tweets out something that, and they're famous, and it's like maybe a little racist, and everyone bashes that person on the internet. But then like there's no taking into account like everything this person has tweeted for the past 5 years has never indicated that they're racist. And maybe what they said was not appropriate and a little racist, but like there's very little opportunity, it seems like, for forgiveness when people make a social media mistake.
Right. I mean, like case in point for me was when Carrie Fisher had died at the end of last year. Steve Martin had that tweet that went out that he was like he extolling all of these positive qualities that she had. It sort of like the joke was, and she also wasn't hard to look at, or something like that. And everybody just jumped on top of like, how dare you for like pointing out the fact that she was attractive, And it's just like, one, she was up until the day she died. She was a very attractive woman, And yes, she's very intelligent. She's extremely talented. She was a ghostwriter on so many projects in Hollywood, like. But it's one of these things. It's Steve Martin. I think he's everybody's favorite grandpa by this point. So.
Yeah. Anyway,
I think it's the public. It's the I read a piece on this a couple years ago about like public, because it happened with like Justine Sacco. I remember the name was that woman who said like, off to South Africa. Hope I don't get AIDS. Just kidding. I'm white. And then she landed, and then like she had like 150 followers, but she landed and she didn't have a job. And bad joke, not as but it's the public stoning mentality that we have, that we've had since the 1500s, and now it's made its way here. The thing that's just really quick on thinking about trolling. And trying to get into that mentality of what that is. For example, I have a friend who he's like kind of like hit the crux of like where he has like followers who, a lot of kids who follow him and then will troll him and yell at him and call him names because he did a show that has a very like a teen following, because teens like to do that. And he's like, I just didn't think that quote unquote making it was going to be having like a 15-year-old call me names. And I was trying to think back to like me being that age. And of course, if we're talking about like advent of the internet, And I was like, I remember that there was this message board. It was before Broadway message boards. There was a message board for like Saturday Night Fever on Broadway, and I would go on it because I was so jealous of all these guys that were in it. I was like, see, Broadway seems so far away to me, and I thought that the best way for me to take that down was just to control the cast on this message board. And I remember being like 15 years old doing that because it was something that I didn't think I could ever have. And I was like, that's what's happening with these trolling. If you go straight up into like the more like what's happened with Leslie Jones last summer, it's like people are afraid of things that they don't understand or things that they can't have or just are, and they bring out all their evil. And I was like, these kids are going to be 18 years old, 19, 20, and they're going to like forget that they did that to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, and for example, when I went in my first equity job was covering understudying a guy who was in that Saturday Night Fever production. And I remember when our website for our show launched, I said, like, oh, we have a website. And he said, is there a message board? And I was like, no. He's like, yeah, because that cost us a lot of problems on Saturday Night Fever. And I went, don't know what you're talking about.
Wow.
Oh my god.
Wow.
True story.
That's funny. All right. Well, this has been great. We've definitely gone over for this segment, but I also did want to get into the thick of it, being that you are somewhat of a social media expert. I know you might not call yourself that, but I will call you that. But yeah, let's get into what's trending, shall we?
Let's do it.
Let me just refill my coffee.
Yeah. I think we might need. Did you make some more? Because I killed the pot.
Oh yeah,
So,
I can make some
Not
more.
the pot.
I killed it.
Ryan's
I didn't say anything because there was only a half a cup, and that just made me mad.
Yeah, I'll make some really quick, and then we'll continue. Does anyone else need anything?
I'm great.
I just want that. Can you hand me that plate with that bacon on it? I want to put it in your mouth.
Put your bacon in your mouth, baby.
Yeah.
It's good bacon.
I babysit these kids, and one of them's like 8th grade, and he was telling me how he has like an Instagram, and he deletes any photo he posts that has less than 100 likes.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I get that. Mm-hmm. I don't do that, but I understand that.
I'd never heard of that idea, but he's like, oh, if it's less than 100 likes, then it's like kind of like embarrassing.
I don't think I've ever even gotten 100 likes before.
I started averaging over 100 when the algorithm changed on Instagram, and now I think it's changed again because I'm no longer doing that, or my shit just sucks. But it's I know people will be like, oh, this did terribly, should I delete it?
Yeah, I'd never. Again, I felt old, and I was like, oh, I don't really get 100 likes on anything.
Well, also it's because most of like the kids, it's because they never did Facebook, so all of their what would be their Facebook friends are their Instagram followers,
Exactly.
so they're already averaging. They'll average like 200.
Yeah.
Facebook's for old people, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
That's right.
yeah. I mean, like.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I took a comedy class, and it was all like late 20s and like 30s people, and one 17-year-old girl, and she said that she's like, oh yeah, I don't really do Facebook, that's for old people. And it had just occurred to me at that moment. I was like, oh yeah, like my aunt's on Facebook, my mom's on Facebook. Like, of course it's for old people. Of course teenagers don't want to be on that.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
Blaze, I think we're still Facebooking live.
Oh, that's all right.
Okay.
I just want to do it for one more
Thanks
second.
for letting me know, because I almost told a story I didn't want to make public.
Yeah. It's interesting that it's just like I feel like backlash is becoming like our #1 export right now.
Yeah, well that's how we got a president. It's like
I will say, and I don't think this it's interesting enough to talk about. Maybe we'll swing back around, but like watching yesterday all of the Democratic congressmen and the senators were putting out very glib tweets and photos and stuff like that, and it was a little. I had this reaction to it where I was just sort of like, one, the bill that they were trying to pass, like it's almost like the Republicans haven't governed in so long that they forgot how to do it, you know? And so it's like they're having this huge victory, and like you guys didn't even really have to fight for anything yet. Like you didn't really. They collapsed on themselves. So like celebrate that in such a glib way is sort of like
to be like So even Hillary Clinton was kind of like, "That's great, guys, but keep focused."
Right, exactly. And it's just one of those things where it's like also like we have this president who's Twitter is his big thing, and it's just like it's like lowering the bar. It's just like I want my people to be like Congress people.
But it has lowered the bar.
It's like, come on.
I was just going to your iPad tonight.
Thanks.
All right. The coffee's being made, so we'll have some after this segment.
Yeah.
So you want to intro this, Ryan?
Yes.
Thank
yes,
you.
I do. This is like a test to see if I remember what's going on.
Hi, Facebook Live people.
Hello.
Probably like 8 people.
Or 4.
Like, yeah.
It'll be fun to check out what it is.
Yeah.
I'll look.
All right, so this is what's trending this week. Now, Andrew, how this works is that you and I are going to give Blaze a few clues about stories that we saw this week, things that were coming across our feeds from various social media platforms, and Blaze is going to do his best to try and guess what the story is, since you've been on social media between Monday and Friday. So I'm gonna get this thing started off. Right here. This is actually one of my favorite stories as a grammar nerd from earlier in the week. So this story involves an Oxford comma, a dairy, a group of truckers, and several $1 million.
An Oxford comma? That sounds like a sexual move.
Can you describe that?
I gave her the old Oxford comma. I think that's I'm gonna back off of that
Okay.
one.
all that says to me is you just kept her waiting for a split second. Just enough time for her to lose interest.
That's good. That's good. That's like if you're pleasuring a woman and she's about to climax and then you stop just before she does, and she's like, "Wait, why'd you stop?" And then you continue, and then she orgasms. That's the old Oxford comma. I think you're right. That's exactly what the Oxford comma is.
That's
Give her the old Oxford comma. Wait. So this story involves an Oxford comma, not the sexual move.
A dairy.
As in a place where they process milk.
And cheeses and stuff like that.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
correct. A group of truckers.
A group of truckers, yes.
And several $1 million.
And several. Is this the new?
Which
like,
could be an episode of Fargo.
Is this the new like Ocean's 8 movie? Is that what it is? Is this some sort of Ocean's 8 movie like heist plot reveal? No, it's not. No.
Spoiler alert? I don't know.
No. Is it? Can you give me another hint in there somewhere? Like, does this take place in America?
It takes place in America, in Maine.
Oxford comma? What the fuck is an
Or
Oxford
also
comma?
known as a serial comma.
Yeah, that's not helpful. Do you know what this is, Andrew?
I do know what an Oxford comma is.
He's a writer.
But do you know this story?
Only just because Ryan told me before.
But you did not
I did
know-
not know the story before.
Our feeds are wildly different.
They are.
It's going to be a great day for you.
I truly have no idea what a piece of grammar, like an article of grammar note, what do you know what you call that? What do you call it?
Okay, alright, so
punctuation, excuse me. Wow, what a fucking genius I am. What is going on?
Okay,
with
so
this?
the Oxford comma, just to educate you and for any of your listeners who may not know, have you? It's the old example sentence to. I'm a big believer in it. I'm a huge believer in the Oxford comma.
Me too.
For clarity's sake. But the sentence that's usually used to demonstrate this is the sentence, I would like to thank my parents, comma, Mother Teresa, and the Pope.
Okay, yeah.
It makes more sense if it's written out.
I like to thank my parents, comma, Mother Teresa, and the Pope. Yeah, there's no comma after Mother Teresa.
Right.
So what part is the Oxford
So
comma?
the Oxford comma would be the comma after Mother Teresa, because without that comma, to me, that sentence reads, I would like to thank my parents, who are Mother Teresa and the Pope.
Oh.
Rather than my parents, comma, Mother Teresa, comma, and the Pope, which identifies them all as separate entities.
So the Oxford comma would be the comma that should be there.
Yes.
You're arguing should be there after Mother Teresa.
Yeah, and the reason it's called the Oxford...
This is grammar talk.
Yeah.
Blaze Mencia.
You guys are going to learn something today. So anyways, what it is it's big in England. It's usually frowned upon for some reason here in the United States. Now, this story, just to get to the interesting part of it, involves this dairy in Maine called Oakhurst Dairy, who is in... they have a lawsuit going on with several of their delivery drivers, right? So Maine state law has all of these things that are very, very quote unquote clearly written out in terms of who is eligible to receive overtime and for what, right? So the drivers wanted all this overtime, and they looked at the state law, and they're making the argument, because as it's written on the books, is it says it's all these people who are not eligible to receive overtime according to Maine state law. And it's like the last sentence in there is people who package and deliver products for certain companies. But because there's no comma in there, and the drivers don't actually package it. They just deliver it. They're saying that they're exempt. Now, they found a lawyer. They went to court. They actually just won in the Court of Appeals, so it's going to be seen again. And it's like now this dairy is going to be like they're on the hook for like $40 million to pay all of their drivers long overdue overtime.
So how long has this been going on? So this must have been going on for a long time.
Couple of years.
They're like, oh well, you don't package, you only deliver, so we're not going to give you overtime.
Right. And so it's one of those things where it's like, and in most style guides that I have seen that are used here in the United States, it's like you use the Oxford comma only for clarity, but most people are like, it muddies up a sentence, it breaks it up, it keeps her waiting a little too long, and so it's one of those things where it's like you look at the thing and it's like very explicitly to me it reads to me as like they don't package it, and so they're owed money and lots of it.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. Well, good for them that they're getting their pay.
Maybe. I mean, it's going back to court, so.
That's hilarious. Okay, and
I always went with the Oxford comma just because I always read it like you're listing three things. The first one is separate, and the two are a pairing. And I never looked right to me, so that's why I was stuck with it. And I didn't realize it was such a British thing, because I've also found out in the last year that I use the word brilliant a lot. Like I say that, oh, brilliant. And I also say like an hotel or an hospital. I don't know if I might have been like British in another life.
Do you say boot?
I don't say boot.
Or garage?
No, I don't say garage, but I'm really close to saying aluminium.
I was just gonna ask, that was the next one I was gonna ask you. Great. What else is trending? Let's move on from the dairy to something else. Thank you for the education Oxford comma. I actually had never heard of that.
And now you know.
Oxford comma.
I mean, we have two things we can go down. Do we want to talk about Richard Simmons, or do we want to talk about Han Solo?
Richard Simmons. Didn't Richard Simmons? Ooh, do I want to? Did he die?
Well, what happened with Richard Simmons?
I thought did he die? I heard some murmurings about this on the radio. On the radio. Did he die? I think he died. I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna go final answer. Richard Simmons died.
Locking it in.
Yeah. Did he die?
You want to phone a friend on that one?
No. Let's just. I think Richard Simmons died this week.
He did not die.
Woo!
But a podcast based on him did die this week.
Richard Simmons has a podcast based on him.
Based on him. It came out about 6 weeks ago called Missing Richard Simmons.
Okay.
It's very much like the Richard Simmons version of Serial.
Okay.
And it was written and produced and all by a guy who was friends, like I call it tertiary friends, where with Richard Simmons was a big member of Richard Simmons. What does he call it? His group fitness class called Slimmins. Did you know about this?
No.
All right, this is okay. I'm gonna talk about what I liked about this podcast.
Yeah.
I liked that I learned a lot about Richard Simmons. Things that what transcended what we might have known on the superficial level of being like bombastic or crazy or a joke or whatever it was. I grew so much respect for the man because we were kind of raised on Richard Simmons as like kind of like somebody they made fun of in like the Nutty Professor movies.
Yeah, just like a clown.
Yeah, and I got a lot of respect for him. And it began, I think, in earnest by this guy who was like, Richard Simmons disappeared from public eye in 2014. He just one day did not show up to his class. What I didn't know is that Richard Simmons, for 40 years, ran Slimmins and would show up and teach this class I don't know if it was every single day, but at least every single week. And one day he never missed. And one day he just didn't show up. Even at the height of like being a 40 millionaire, some like guy, he would still teach this class. And he just didn't show up, and it caused people to be like, wait, what happened? And so this one guy created a podcast where it's kind of like searching like what happened. Is the maid or the housekeeper keeping him hostage? All these things. And I think after 6 episodes or somewhere in the middle of it, people were like, wait a second, are you capitalizing on this? Or like this then became viral, and then he got all this like, and it was like I think it started rubbing people the wrong way. And I think finally Richard Simmons was. I think the guess was that the people were like, he's fine. The LAPD had to show up for like a third time. Came in like, there's nothing we can tell you. He just doesn't want to see people anymore, and that's it. He's not being held hostage.
So he didn't come out publicly and say anything, but like police came out and said like, we should have welcomed him.
About within the last year, he came out like he's called the Today Show and was like, I'm fine. And then on this podcast, it was like, but was he fine? We didn't see him. He just so. What happened, I think, recently in the last week, like a week ago, was that the LAPD, the detectives, went to his Beverly Hills home or whatever and found out that he went in, questioned him and the housekeeper separately, and were like, and then came back. We're like, you're fine. You don't like. There's nothing more for this podcast to be.
Yeah.
Like there's, and so he ended the podcast being like kind of like a send up, like, we love you, Richard. We wish that we could see you type of thing. I don't think that he was doing it out of like any sort of like sinister reasons he was doing this podcast, but just I think it started rubbing people the wrong way. And it ended, and it kind of ended sort of with a fizzle. Like Richard Simmons is like, I'm done with you. I didn't say that, but I think what basically the gist was that I think he just gave I got from it is that he gave 100% to other people for 60 years, and then one day was like, bye girl.
Yeah.
To quote somebody on the podcast, he's like, he just did a bye girl bye. Like,
bye. It is interesting. I have to say, like, there's something about that, but someone that's so dedicated and makes every class that they're all the time, and all of a sudden they're just gone. Especially someone that was such a big part of the public eye. I'm more curious about why Richard Simmons has taken a break, whether he wants to focus on other projects or he just wants to relax, or like now I want to know. Like I want to know what he's up to. Like I hope that he comes in some sort of talk show and talks about what's been going on or what has inspired him to stop.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry.
No, I feel quite the opposite. I mean, it's like,
really?
I
want to know.
Left his mark on this world, and if he just wants to fade into obscurity,
no, that's fine. I guess I want to know what made him stop, because I think if you're somebody that's busy all the time, and like Richard Simmons, he's got this project going on, and then you stop. I'm sure for like a good month, you're like, this is nice, like, do nothing. And then I bet he's like, I wonder at what point he gets stir crazy. He's like, I need something to do. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Because now it's been over like 1,000 days since he's been in the public eye. And then I'm thinking, well, I think he's in his 60s and he's probably been doing this hardcore for 40 years.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if it's that thing where it's like you're just like, the break finally piled up. I think it's like, and now I'm taking my break, and it could be an indefinite break, or it could just be like a decade break, and who knows?
I just think going back to that previous point about like the distrust and stuff, like, it's like if he literally came out and said, I'm good, I'm fine, and yet the LAPD is like, boom, 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 open up, and they're questioning people separately, like, Richard, go into your room, we're gonna talk to your housekeeper. Like, is he really okay? Like, and the news is doing stories on, is he for real? Like, I mean, it's like, yeah, he's fine. Like,
Richard's like he's on his couch watching Bravo.
Is he transitioning?
Right.
And then finally the guy on the podcast is like, I'm pretty certain he's not transitioning.
I like that's become like the new thing when someone disappears from the public eye. Our first thing is like, oh, maybe they're transitioning. Like, we gotta be a little, like, I want that to, every time a celebrity disappears for like 5 years, I want us to be like, oh, maybe they're transitioning. Like, maybe Johnny Depp is becoming Joan Depp. And like, maybe that's what's going on. It's a pivot. Yeah, let's pivot on to something else that's trending.
So this is a little bit of a continuing trending drama for me, but you didn't talk about it last week, and it's like candy, so I'm going to bring it up right now.
Do it. Bring me the candy.
This involves British actor and DJ Finn Jones, Netflix, Marvel Comics, and a bunch of angry people.
I wish all the people listening to the podcast could see like the blank look on my face as Ryan just disappeared.
Sorry, I should have given you the nerd alert.
Well, yeah, because I don't know what any of that is. You're speaking a foreign language to me. You're much nerdier than me. There's nothing wrong with being nerdy. I'm not hating on nerds, but I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
He will try and give me a swirly after this podcast.
Can you give that to me one more time? Because I think I faded out halfway through your description.
Really, I try and keep these things short just so that I can maintain your attention. So it's British actor and DJ Finn Jones, Marvel, Netflix. You do watch Netflix, right?
I do watch Netflix.
Okay, and then also a bunch of angry people, angry nerds.
I think Finn Jones is currently transitioning, and the thing is Finn Jones used to be a guy, and he was cast in this role, and now he's going to be a lady, and he's cast in this role where she has to play a guy, and people are upset that they didn't audition other women for that role, and he got the job as a man and then became a woman, and so it's like this whole thing, glass ceiling, blah blah blah. I'm petering out as we go on through this thing, but I think Finn Jones is transitioning and got a role as a man, but is now a woman. They're now started doing pre-production. They're about to start shooting. I mean, that's just what
I want to say close, but no, I actually think the only thing that would really save Finn Jones at this point is transitioning into an Asian guy. Like, that's the only thing that would save him. Although that might crop up with a bunch of different issues. What was the name of the woman in Oregon who, do you remember?
Rachel Dolezal.
That's right.
Yes!
You win!
Yes! Yeah, Rachel Dolezal
Yeah.
was the white woman that was the head of a chapter of the NAACP, and she said she was black, and then her parents outed her as not black, and she would, in case you guys didn't remember this story, like a couple of years ago now. She's bankrupt now.
No, that was like within the last year. It's
Oh,
been
wow.
a very long. I think it was the summer, right?
Yeah, okay, then
Not
yeah.
that long ago.
You better
Yeah.
pull her name out like easier than I pull out Justine Sacco.
The Rachel Dolezal story was like so fascinating to me
It's-
for so many reasons.
There's a lot going on there.
It was so interesting, like, cause she didn't do anything really wrong. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, to go around pretending that you're black, I don't necessarily think it's wrong. I think it's odd. I think it's very strange. And then she adopted those 2 black children and said that they were her children. I mean, if anything, it's maybe a little unethical, but there's nothing inherently wrong, right? I mean,
Well, I mean, I think it's a.
I don't know.
It's a conversation that I could speak a lot to. That
It's so
I
strange
don't
to
want
me.
to do it on this podcast.
Anyway,
let's move on. To get back to but I think I
Finn
think it's one of
Jones.
those stories. The Rachel is all.
so Finn Jones is not Asian.
Finn Jones is not Asian. That's actually the sort of centerpiece of this story. So Finn Jones was. You also don't watch Game of Thrones, right?
I saw the first season.
Okay, so he was the gay knight that was making out with the. I think actually it's pretty. He's shaking his head.
I have no idea.
So anyway,
That's him?
that was him. Yeah.
Oh.
He had a lot of sex position at first.
Yeah.
So he's just
Did he
beardier
get
now.
bigger? Is he like, did he work
I
out?
actually think he's
Bigger?
gotten smaller.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, because I remember him being quite he's very thin.
Do we need to Google image nude pictures of him so we can figure this out?
Can we put it up on the Facebook page?
We might.
Okay.
We
So,
might.
anyways, no, but it's like because one of the memes that it's like this is the story. So Finn Jones is currently starring as Iron Fist on Netflix, which is the 4th of the Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and then they're going to do like an Avengers-esque collection of these things coming up. So this is a show that's been long in development. They were having trouble finding a star for a long time. There is a website called Nerds of Color. There's a writer there. His name is David. I do not remember his last name. I'm sorry, David. I'm assuming he's also listening to your podcast. But there was this petition that, based on inclusivity and whatnot, because Iron Fist, for those of you who may not know, a Marvel character that was created in 1974 during the height of Bruce Lee. Kung Fu is a big thing. There were a lot of Kung Fu comics that came out. Iron Fist was one of them. Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu, all this stuff that came on. I'm a nerd, all right.
No, you're blowing me. It's impressive.
So,
It's impressive.
but this was a big thing, and so it was sort of like a passing phase. He ended up getting partnered with Luke Cage, and they sort of became like a duo, a la Green Arrow and Green Lantern that DC had. And it's like these 2 people from different points of view that were going and solving crimes in their neighborhood, whatever.
Get to the racism.
The racism thing. That's the meat. That's the meat on the stick for Blaze. So, anyways, what happened is that the sort of current zeitgeist is that this is something that really deals with cultural appropriation. And so the guy from Nerds of Color had made this huge campaign that was just like, look, why this guy should be an Asian actor. If you want to talk about an outsider, if you want to talk about get a really true kung fu, why not just take this character and make him an Asian guy? It's not like it's Batman. It's not like we're doing Middle Eastern Batman. It's not that many people know who Iron Fist is. It's not going to cause that much of a ruckus. Got enough steam. Marvel actually considered a couple of Asian actors, and they ended up going with Finn Jones, who is this. He's an actor. He's from.
Is he Asian?
No, not at all.
What is
not
he?
at all? He's a white guy. He's blonde, curly hair, sort of thing. But anyways, the funny thing for me was this week is there was actually this really cool set of memes because there was another actor on the show. His name is, oh gosh, I didn't write it down. His last name is Tan, but he actually plays another character in one of the episodes who's a master of drunken fist kung fu, and they have this fight. But there was a series of memes where it was just a publicity still of Finn Jones, who, it's it would be like if I came in as guys, I'm a kung fu master, and you would look at me and Ryan, when was the last time you went to the gym?
Yeah.
And I would lie to you and say earlier this week, but it was probably really late last week.
Okay.
And then this guy who is he's I can't remember his name. I would have to look it up.
So what's
But it was like this guy who's actually who knows martial arts and practices martial arts super cut, and it was these memes kept coming out. And it's just the guy that they passed on, they told you needed more experience, and then the guy that they hired, or when your girlfriend tells you that you don't need to worry about him. And like, you know, it's like these publicity stills of Finn Jones is like a kung fu master versus this guy who's like sweaty in the gym and has like 10 abs.
And is an actual kung fu master.
Right.
Oh, so what's the reaction on the socials? Are people outraged?
Well, I mean, I think with everything. I mean, it's something that I've been following for a while, just because like there are arguments on both sides of it. You know, it's like yes.
What's the argument for each side?
I would say that the argument for why it should be an Asian guy is that I think that personally, I think that like, you know, how many times do we need to see like a white superhero? You know,
More. I want to see more white superheroes.
It's one of those things where like it's something that probably easily could have been done and would not have caused a huge uproar. You know, I think it would have just made things maybe slightly more, you know, interesting from a storytelling standpoint. The argument against it is more of the purist. It sort of goes back to that Michael B. Jordan like Human Torch thing from the Fantastic Four, the Trank movie, The Tanked. From like a year or two ago.
Oh, this is the second Fantastic Four movie, The Tank, right?
Yes.
There was the Jessica Alba one and then this one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But you know, the argument there was just like, well, you know, Johnny Storm is a white guy, so if it's not a white guy, you know, he's got a white sister, and you know, it's like, yeah, they're mixed families, and you know, it's also like I think it's safe to say that it's not going to be the last Fantastic Four movie that we're going to see in the next 5 years. Like, if you don't like this one, there will be another one in 2 years. Fox will find a way.
Also, it's like we're talking about superheroes here, so I like how people like to get really realistic when it comes down to the race of the superheroes.
Yeah,
the magic people.
I mean, I think it's mostly just broken down into people shouting at each other. You know, the guy who created the comic was, you know, I think he had a great quote that was like, you know, you can be creative or you can be a critic. And it's very easy to be a critic, but it's much easier to be creative. You know, and his point was just like, you know, yeah, it's like, you know, we created a bunch of different stuff. This is just what's being made right now. But, you know, it's like you guys you create a story about an Asian, you know, kung fu master who's feeling out of touch. And so we don't have the backing of Disney and Marvel and all
so
that.
the guy that created the character was advocating for an Asian actor.
He was interested in the idea, but he just his point in the article was that he didn't see the reason for all of the outrage online. You know, it was just like, what's the point? I get my check once a month and I cash it and I don't think that much about it.
Sure. Oh, that social outrage.
Yeah. And then it didn't get good reviews, right? Like it didn't do well,
right?
Or no?
I would say, and like this is, you know, venturing into my opinion, I'm struggling to finish it as a fan of these sorts of things. I am less concerned with Finn Jones not being Asian and more just not being very interesting in the show.
Does he DJ on the show?
I wish he did.
So he is a DJ?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. What else is trending?
Hilarious. He's a DJ. Well, if we're gonna get really nerdy, we can go into Han Solo now, but there is like, oh no, question. What does Meryl Streep, Debbie Reynolds Lifetime Achievement Award 2015 and the SAG Awards? What's that? What happened?
2015 SAG Awards and Meryl Streep receiving the Debbie Reynolds Lifetime Achievement Award?
Oh no, just Debbie Reynolds getting one.
And
then also Meryl Streep. What does she have to do with it?
Is there some sort of controversy that maybe Debbie Reynolds should not have received said award and it was supposed to go to Meryl Streep and somebody read the wrong card and they just realized?
Now that she's passed, we can get away from her.
Yeah, exactly. From her cold, dead hand. No, what's going on?
That's close.
Wow.
That's very, very close.
Oh, no.
That's so close, it's Glenn Close. That's
no, I'll take that. That was good. I'll take that.
Basically, what happened on Monday was that a meme happened. This was like probably the biggest meme I saw this week, was a picture of Meryl Streep cupping her hands from the audience at the Lifetime Achievement Awards, or at the SAG Awards for Debbie Reynolds, yelling something at the stage. And people were taking a picture of that, and then they were doing like a little like internet trend where usually I can pretty much catch on to an internet trend if I've seen it 3 times. I get what the joke is. I had to have this one explained to me. And because I was seeing everybody do this one from all, you know, walks of life. And all it really seemed to be was you type at the top, you type like a sentence, or say it's lyrics from a song, you know, something crazy in love, whatever, and then you type it in caps, you know, something loud, and then you put the picture and it's just you screaming it. So it'll be like, I can't even think of one because I was so underwhelmed by this meme.
Gotcha.
But everybody was doing it, and I think everybody I think thought it was really, really funny, and I can't. And it was just all it was just saying something and then saying the next part louder with a picture of Meryl Streep yelling. And I didn't understand it, and I was like, I'm not even gonna play this one. But it was a big thing, and I don't even know where the picture came from. I had to ask her, like, oh, I think it's from Debbie Reynolds' Lifetime Machine. I'm like, that was 2 years ago.
Wow.
Like, I just don't, I don't know, and I don't know where it came from. I'm always fascinated with who started that one.
I'm glad you brought this up because it's going to come into our next segment. So I think we should just jump into the next segment, shall we? All right, get that. Yeah.
Did you see this one?
I've seen it, but I was like, why?
I couldn't get it.
You know what
saw
I think
it.
it came from? If it's music, if it's lyrics.
I don't know if it was lyrics. That was like my.
Okay,